So tonight we will be looking at. We're going to be looking at, if this works, the Antichrist as Nephilim, and you can go to sergiobentoministries.com. From there you can click to become a member, and if you go to my Patreon page, you can either become a member, a High People Appreciation member, and have access to these notes free of charge, or you can go there and buy one copy for yourself if you wish to do that. So I told you the other day that a personal philosophy of life and philosophy of ministry that I have is not to be like a mother bird. Let me explain. Normally, what we see in the animal world, in the bird world, generically speaking, is that a bird, a mother bird or a father bird, go out there, eats, and then comes back to the chicks and vomits in their mouths. And that's what many pastors have done, vomited to you in the mouth of your brain. And I don't do that. I want to challenge you to think. I want to challenge your faith. I want you to challenge your convictions. I want you to challenge your traditions. So if you get a copy of the notes, and we'll not be reading the full notes, it's about 13 pages. So if you get the notes, you will see that I decided to write these notes more in an academic way, with a bunch of references, a bunch of things that basically will basically challenge you to think and come up with conclusions. Okay, so I don't want you to just accept what I say is the truth. Be like the Berean Christians who would, after Paul preached or whomever preached, they had enough knowledge of the word to go and basically make sure that what they have heard did not contradict the scriptures. Now, for you to do that, you need to know scriptures. And you don't need to go to Bible college or seminary to do that. Nowadays, you can actually really find good teachers, good books, good commentaries, good softwares, and study the Bible. Now, I would caution you with many Bible teachers here on this platform or other platforms, because as I take a look and see what they teach, sometimes is just wrong. I don't know where people come up with these positions, these traditions, in stuff like that. So just to be very, 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 very careful whom you listen to. Look at the people's pedigrees and then listen to them for a little while if you have the time, and then make a decision. But be very, 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 very careful. Let me take a look at some of the potential comments. I don't know if there is any comments already. I see that a bunch of people have joined. So let me see here. Carmen. I don't know how to say your last name, Carmen. Bro. Hello. Okay. Christina, I watched your live for 100 minutes. That's good. Let's see how many minutes will be today. Gonna be interesting. Hi, Chrissy. Good evening. God bless you too. Hi, Jessica. You're here, Jessica. Ooh, cool. Hi, friend. Good evening. Fostered but not forgotten. Hi. Susan, hi, brothers and sisters. Hello, Susan. Let's take a look here. Okay, let me go to the latest ones. Mandy Pandy, hi. Hi, Trinity. Zoe Dean, how are you doing? Fawn Dugan 710, how are you doing? Good to have you here. Cool. Jan X, hi, Lucy. Pam Ajama A6, don't know what that means. Kristen Kitchen 3, Sister Love, hi. Okay, just a few more. I'm glad, Zoe, that you also made it alive. Cool. Okay. Hi from Colorado, or watching from Colorado. I've been in Colorado. What a beautiful state. Beautiful. Made Man, good evening. God bless you. Yeah, so is Carming is pronounced bro, is pronounced bro. Okay. I was not that far. Okay. Hello from West Virginia. Charlene, how do you do? Hello from Oklahoma. Thank you, Carmen. Okay, so let's go and jump into our topic today. So if you have followed me for a little time, you will see that I am in the minority in many topics of theology. I'm not alone, but I think I am with some very good theologians that have decided to challenge tradition and just to find out that even from the councils, things were manipulated to a certain extent. And here I'm talking about Nicaea in other councils. Things were manipulated to a certain extent to express the convictions of a certain number of people or a group of people. So, I challenge you to do what I have done. As I said before, I am a Baptist, but I did get my Baptist conviction put to the side, and I decided to basically allow the Bible to speak freely to me, and it is enlightening. So, we'll talk today about the Antichrist as a Nephilim. So basically, the subtopic in my article is a reassessment of supernatural lineage in eschatological prophecy. And basically, we're doing some theological studies in apocalyptic literature. So a few things that in the article itself I'll be covering more extensive than here because of time, of course. Is a four stages or four arguments. One is establishing the nature and legacy of the Nephilim in biblical and extra biblical sources. So, look, the Bible is the book, but if you see here, if you could see that side of my office, I have over 15,000 books, and it is not 15,000 Bibles. It is, I have a bunch of Bibles, but different versions and languages and all of that. But I have other books because you need to read other books. Okay, so when we talk about the Nephilim, if you want to know more about the Nephilim, you must read some extra biblical sources, and we'll talk about. So we examine, or I examine in this article, key Antichrist texts, such as Daniel 7, Thessalonians 2, Revelation 13, the epistles of John. So we go deep into these texts, and we look for indicators. I look for indicators of known human lineage, because the traditional view is that the Antichrist is born of humans. I was about to say of a woman, and he is born of a woman. However, because even the name itself, or the title itself, Antichrist, does not mean against Christ. It means, it could mean that, and certainly means that, but can also mean a substitute of Christ. And you will understand as we go through these talk that I'm having. So I do an assessment of a patristic, or the early fathers of the church in early Christian readings, to see what they say. In fourth, we engage some counter arguments and offer a constructive synthesis. I will not go into the arguments against this position. Maybe not, but there are about 4 or 5 of them, and so we'll see how far we can go. Now, so let's talk. Let's start the problem of the Antichrist's origin. So in Daniel, we see the Antichrist being presented as the little horn, and this is not a comprehensive list, okay? But in Daniel, is the little horn. In Paul, he's also known as the man of lawlessness. In the epistles of John, he is identified as the Antichrist, but then John also identifies many Antichrists. And in Revelation, of course, he's the beast. What is interesting is that he performs great signs and wonders. So I would like for you to start, and if you high people appreciation member, if you got these notes, write on them, because right here, what you should start seeing is that the Bible actually gives us some information about this being, this person, because it is a person in the sense that it exists, that does not fit 100% in relation to a 100% human being. In the history of humanity, with the exception of Jesus Christ, no person will have the characteristics, the power that the Antichrist will have. So he performs great signs and wonders, Matthew 24, is energized directly by Satan, 2 Thessalonians 2:9, but goes beyond that, and you will see. He claims divine status, 2 Thessalonians 2:4, and exercises global dominion in a manner unprecedented in human history, Revelation 13:7 and 8. Now, I get a bunch of messages and a ton of comments, and you can read the comments. And some of the messages are private messages, so I only share if people give me the okay to share. But what I'm about to say was in a comment. And somebody wrote something like this: the Antichrist is not a person, is a system. No, the Antichrist, biblically speaking, is a person. And he creates or he takes over a system that has been created to receive his evilness. But the Antichrist is actually a person. Now, mainstream eschatological scholarship has largely treated the Antichrist as a human figure that is extraordinarily wicked and has satanic empowerment. So, traditionally speaking, people see the Antichrist as a human person that is either possessed by Satan himself or is highly influenced by Satan, and by nature, that person is evil. However, there is a persistent minority tradition, which I am a member of, but includes Chuck Missler, for example, Patrick Schreiner, Michael Heiser. Some of you know Michael Heiser. And in these theologians, in few more, have this minority position in relation to the Antichrist. This tradition draws upon the often neglected strand of biblical cosmology that concerns the Nephilim, the enigmatic offspring described in Genesis 6 1 through 4 as arising from the union of the sons of God, Bnei Elohim, with human women. And I will talk about some of the positions that dominate the church today. Most of your pastors have a position, and I'll talk in a second, that is not even biblical, but they are afraid to go and explore the supernatural. So let's talk about the Nephilim, the biblical and extra biblical foundations. First, Genesis 6 1 through 4, in the sons of God. So of course, Genesis 1 6 through 4 is the foundational text. The passage describes the pre-flood transgression in which the sons of God saw the daughters of men were attractive, and they took wives to themselves as they choose. Meaning, it could be a little girl, could be a teenager, could be a single woman, a married woman, an old woman, a widower, or a widow, and they just took these women to as their wives. The product of their union is the Nephilim, which are called the mighty men or men of renown. And keep that in mind, mighty men or men of renown. The identification of the Bnei Elohim has been contested throughout the history because people try to explain away the supernatural. Okay, so the Bible has been sanitized and rationalized, so when your pastor preaches to you, you don't have a heart attack, because your pastor most likely will preach for 30 minutes, most likely, and he will be extremely superficial. I mean, it's painful to hear pastors preaching today. So what they will do is that they will try to they will not even touch the idea of the supernatural in the Bible. They will not even touch the idea of the supernatural today. So they try to explain away the question of the supernatural in relation to Genesis 6 1 through 4. The three main positions that has emerged is the Sethite interpretation, which identifies this Bnei Elohim, or the sons of God, as the godly line of Seth intermarrying with ungodly line, or the ungodly line of Cain, which were the women. So it's like Seth has children. The Bible says that the Seth descendants started to cry out to God. So most will interpret that as they were seeking God, while the daughters of Cain were all hoochie mamas. And they saw the hoochie mamas, and they said, you know what? They are attractive. Let's go there and take wives for ourselves. But there is a huge problem that I'm going to explain in a little bit. But let me say this. When the Bible says that the sons or descendants of Seth started to cry out to God, there is a possibility in rabbinic theology and teaching that when they cried out to God was not the case that they were seeking God, but that they were actually cursing God. So that would destroy this argument. The other thing that destroys this argument, and I'm going to say that now and going to repeat later, is that when the term B'nai Ha-Elohim is used in the Old Testament, it is here in another 6 times or so, always refers to divine beings. So to say that this instance where B'nai Ha-Elohim doesn't present divine beings is an aberration, because it always will talk about, when this term is used, B'nai Ha-Elohim, about the divine beings. So the Sethites' interpretation is a one way to basically explain away the supernatural. The other position, which is very weak and not widely accepted. So the Sethite is widely accepted among pastors, among evangelicals. The second position is the royal line interpretation, which reads the sons of God as dynastic rulers. So these were the elites. And the elites then decided to take wives from the daughters of Cain. Doesn't make sense. The third position is my position, the position of a minority of people, which is the angelic interpretation. And let me say this, the reason why people say fallen angels is not because of the Hebrew text. In the Hebrew text, always these beings are called sons of God, and they are identified, if we jump to Daniel, with the Watchers. The only reason why you have heard fallen angels is because of the Septuaginta. In the Septuaginta, they decided to change the how these beings are called from B'nai Ha-Elohim to fallen angels. So that's the reason. It's a question of interpretation. But the Hebrew text called them B'nai Ha-Elohim, sons of God. So angelic interpretation, which takes B'nai Ha-Elohim as a reference to supernatural beings, the so-called divine council members who violated cosmic boundaries. So there is the region where God lives and where we live, and they basically defiled their dominion and in boundaries, and just came down and did whatever they did. The angelic interpretation has the strongest lexical, contextual, and reception historical support. So it's theologically sound. Every other occurrence of the phrase, as I said, B'nai Ha-Elohim in the Hebrew Bible, such as Job 1:6 to 138:7, Psalm 29:1, and Psalm 89:6-7, refers always to these beings as being supernatural beings. So the Nephilim, how was the Nephilim considered in the Second Temple literature? And again, the Second Temple literature is that time between the Testaments and during the time of Jesus Christ upon the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. So the most expensive treatment of the Nephilim in ancient Jewish literature is found in First Enoch. And let me see here. Hold. So yesterday I told you about the best version of the book of Enoch, and I know these are going to be turned to you. So, but you at least you have an idea. So this is First Enoch. It is the Hermeneia translation by George W.E. Nicholsberg and James C. van der Kamp. This is the best translation and version of the Book of Enoch. Okay? So, so if you're gonna get the Book of Enoch, get this one. It is the best. And so, Book of Enoch. So the Book of Enoch is a composite work preserved in Ethiopic and fragmentarily in Aramaic among the Dead Sea Scrolls. So this Book of Enoch, which is called First Enoch, was actually found in the library of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and that's extremely important. One of the things that is important here for us to understand, and I'm writing a few articles that are going to be put in a short book about the return of the Nephilim. When you read First Enoch 15:8 to 11, you will see, or the writers of Enoch, because it is not the case that Enoch wrote First Enoch, but there were writers of the book of First Enoch. They address the question of the post-mortem fate of the Nephilim. And why is this important? Because the spirits of the Nephilim, upon the death of the Nephilim, stayed on this earth. And they most likely are in the millions. These are the ones that we call the demons. And in the return of the Nephilim, and with everything that we are seeing about hybrid breeding, which is what they call aliens plus women, and women of all ages. Basically, if we connect the dots, we come to the conclusion that these demons will eventually take the bodies that are being produced in laboratories, federal laboratories, and eventually they will be on this earth in a bodily form.